You tuned in to the Now Morning Show, the Monday edition, and as always, we continue our partnership with the Art Society of Trinidad and Tobago with our featured artist of the week, Miss Patrice Matthews, joining us on set to tell us more about the pieces that will be on set all week long. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you so much.
I'm glad that you're here because these pieces are transitioning with us into the new year, actually.
Right, okay.
And they aren't you or typical or simply paintings that we may see. So I'm very excited to find out, first of all, what media we're looking at. And in terms of your story, as to how long you've been, as we say, dabbling a little bit in the world of art. What are we looking at?
Okay, so I mean, I don't really have a particular genre that I do where all of my art is the same. So sometimes I see something and I'm inspired to try.
Right.
To your point, in terms of how it all started, I've always been creative. I've always liked to sew, do-it-yourself projects, dabble in creative things. I used to draw, write poetry, all sorts of nonsense as a child. But it was during COVID that I was sort of in this space with these sort of endless days that just wouldn't finish. And it's like, what to do with myself? And I recycle. I'm an avid recycler, so I always have stuff to, you know, take to the recycling bins. And I thought, what can I do, given that no stores are open and nothing's available, to have an outlet for all this time that I had in my hands? So I decided to upcycle and recycle materials that were in the space to create art. So of course, Mr. Google was my best friend. So I sort of Googled, you know, how to make art from upcycled materials and so on. And I just found things and I said, oh, let me take a stab at that. So it's a combination of cutout art, which would be like the first three here. And then it morphed into collage art, which would be the tiger and Mia, where I actually use paper, fabric, any nonsense I could find to create the art and to give it that kind of depth and texture that I'm looking for.
Those are the things that struck me. The textures that we got were very, very vibrant and dynamic. And I wondered if there was a particular preference in terms of using things. Like you said, you kind of played with it and evolved from one into the next. But do you find more materials or certain materials easier to work with than others?
Well, I use a lot of paper and fabric. So, for example, and I'm more in the collage space, but unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of collages available to bring on set. And I actually borrowed the tiger from my brother because that was a gift I did for him for his 60th birthday.
Not for sale.
Not for sale. But fabric and I find now that my awareness of anything, so I'll maybe get an invitation and I'll think, oh my God, this is lovely. This could, you know, this little piece here or the graphic could be used. No offense to Caribbean Beat, but the photography and the colors and so on are fabulous for this medium as well. So when Giselle was there, Laurent, she'd give me all the old editions and I could use them and cut them up. So my space is filled with magazines and fabric. And in fact, Warrior, as I called that one, and this one was my Lost Tribe Carnival that I played 2000. I stripped it down to all its little component parts and recycle the fabric.
Now, let's go through each piece then, because I am an avid Lost Triber myself, and so this is an interesting way to see the costume take on new life. It's called your Lost Triber in terms of the actual title?
Well, no, this one I just called her African Queen, but basically, you know, I don't remember the name of the section, but it was this beautiful costume with a lot of African prints. I didn't get the cape, but I did have the headpiece, and it would look almost like a Rasta headpiece sort of thing. And it had lots of strands of material. So if you look at it closely, those are the actual different strands I just incorporated into the woman's headpiece. And then I just used some material I had that sort of created a skin that kind of gives her that sort of texture. And then Warrior, again, I use the materials in a different way to overlay on a piece of cardboard. And he's a bit more sort of abstract and weird. I don't know where he came from. That's actually my first, which is why I keep him to sort of remind me where I came from in this journey.
Started.
Yeah.
There is another person, at least because there are eyes, nose, and a mouth. But there's also a hat. Who are we looking at?
Again, you know, I did one previously, and I said, oh, let me see, do a variation of that. And that one just sort of emerged. And I just thought I'd give him some character with the hat. And then I noticed the glue ran on one side, so then I decided to call it the Tears of a Clown, and I put glue on the other side to make him cry, or look like he's crying even though he has a smile. So I tried to have like a little story, give them some quirky names, or, you know, give some sort of depth to what I'm doing. But that one, yeah, he's just sort of an arbitrary
person,
funny face clown. Yes.
Next to him, we do have a definitive tiger.
Right.
And I understand that, like you said, this one is a gift to your brother for his 60th, is it?
Yeah. So my sister and I decided, you know, for his 60th to create something that, you know, he would keep and would be reminiscent of the milestone. And that actually was not the piece I intended for him. It was a smaller piece. And he came into my apartment and they were, you know, side by side and said, "Oh, I love this." So I thought, okay, that's the one. But that's probably one of my most intricate and largest collages to date.
So we're looking at paper and fabric on this one, yes?
Paper and fabric, foil, there might be some Velcro in there. It's all sorts of craziness that, just as I said, gives you the depth that you're looking for, the reflection, the texture, yeah.
And finally on set with us, we are joined by Mia Motley in the form of art. What was the moment or pivotal introduction, I guess, to her?
So the Rotunda Gallery of the Parliament did a call for International Women's Day in I think it was 2022. And it was to portray iconic women who have achieved great milestones and done amazing things. So Maya instantly came to mind in terms of someone who's, you know, waving the flag not just for her country but for the region and on an international stage. So, and she was also a creative challenge in terms of, you know, the glasses and her costuming, and that particular outfit she's wearing is actually a Caribbean Beat article about Barbados, about climate change, about, you know, the environment, and I kind of incorporated it into her manner of dress.
Right.
So
tell me about the hair, though. There's a lot of texture there.
The hair is actually Velcro. So I was doing a do-it-yourself project with Velcro, and it was a hot mess. So I had all this Velcro that I didn't want to throw away. So I thought, oh, maybe this could be used for her hair, and it kind of gives it a bit of a 3D element. Also, she has glasses. I don't think you could see that detail, but she actually has glasses on. So I tried to make the pieces a little bit more, you know, interesting and intricate by adding those sorts of elements to it.
Patrice, I noticed that in your language, you say things like craziness and silly things. And I don't think it's meant to trivialize things, but it gives me a sense of ease that you get from creating these things. How difficult or how long does it take you? Is it a relatively simple process for you?
It varies. I mean, some things I just, you know, nail them one off, a couple of days, they're done. Others present a bit more of a challenge. For example, if I'm doing something that's a bit real, like a person or an animal, I've done a lot of animals, getting the eyes and the expression right makes a huge difference. So sometimes, I actually did a Spanish woman once, and she sat there in my house for like 6 months because I knew she wasn't right, but I didn't know how to fix her. So I'd look at it every day, and then I might say, oh, let me tinker with her a little bit today, and it was like, no, this still isn't right. And it's that kind of process. So, and it's a very forgiving medium. So if you kind of make a mistake, you could just like rip off or just overlay. And the overlay gives it more texture as well.
Right. Maybe I found my medium.
But I have fun with it. It's not my mainstay. You know, I'm not sort of doing it for the fame and fortune. It's just been a fun journey for me, and actually exciting for me to realize that this is in me. Sometimes, I mean, I look at that and I think, I did that?
Really?
Yeah, because...
Well, yes, you did say this is, as you not the mainstay, but there is a level of commitment because you are a part of the art society. You have been displayed in a number of significant spaces within the art fraternity. And that does show development and, like I say, commitment, not just to you, but to other artists as well, for creating those spaces for them to do the same.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that intention and how we can be a part of that journey.
So I've always felt that I love the Art Society Rotunda. They create these opportunities for artists to create pieces and be part of an exhibition. But then, you know, if your piece doesn't sell, then what? So as I said earlier, we're like a bunch of creative people swimming in a very small pond in which we don't have the critical mass to really, do more with the art. And there's only so many pieces of your art that your friends and family are going to buy. There's only so much wall space that they have. So, we talk about diversification of the economy. We look at the fact that, foreign exchange is becoming more difficult to get. So I don't understand why we don't leverage on the fact that we have a Rotunda gallery, perhaps, and when we do these exhibitions, that a reel is sent maybe to the consulates and the embassies all over the world where Trinidad and Tobago represents, and they can now invite, their contacts and their representatives and so on to look at the art, maybe create a platform, an online platform where, we have the whole e-commerce thing where the things could be exported. We have Arnims and Horizons that could do the packaging. We have DHL and FedEx. Mm-hmm. So to me, all the pieces and the components are there. And when I was in New York recently and I spoke to J. Andre Laveau, who's the Consulate General, about it, he loved the idea. And I also was in London and I spoke to Vishnu Danpal. Mm-hmm. And, they're very willing to have artists in the space and to support. But, the airfares are expensive and then you have to get accommodation. So I do think there's a huge opportunity for government to liaise with the galleries and the artists to create an opportunity. And people love Caribbean art, the colors, the vibrancy, the flowers, the birds. It's different from the landscapes and the mountains and stuff that they're used to.
No place like home.
No place like home.
Well then, Patrice, thank you very much for bringing some of that home to the set for the entire week. We truly appreciate it.
You are most welcome. I really do appreciate the opportunity and the platform.
Absolutely necessary as we continue to shine the light on not just the beautiful art that will be on set with us all week, but even more that you need to stay tuned to the Now Morning Show for after these messages.